baby boomers are a generation spanning from 1946 to 1964. They are the children of those who fought in World War II, as the beginning year suggests. The baby boomers are infamous for their statements that they say that their lives were much more difficult than that of the millennials or members of the Generation Z. While the Gen Zers have been mostly quiet through all this, with the millennials taking the front lines, so to speak, the statement of "OK Boomer" has been come up as sort of a comeback uh, orchestrated by the Gen Zers. Basically, it disregards the baby boomers' point and insults them with the oh-so-dreaded slur that is a direct quote from an article on inc.com, inc.com, of boomer, the slur being boomer in that sentence. Okay, boomer disregards what the person is saying and also slightly insults them. It is a comeback that is useful with just about anything, which is one reason why I think that the baby boomers are behaving so angrily at this. There are several reasons why the boomers need to calm down over the OK Boomer movement, from the countless things they were given as a birthright, and overall just the time period in which they lived. Hello, everybody. My name is Nate Ewing, host of the Nate Knows podcast, and today I'm obviously going to talk to you about the OK Boomer movement and, the fact that baby boomers have been given so much in their life, but they refuse to admit it. My first point, what I'm trying to orchestrate here, not like orchestrate, but what I'm trying to express here is that baby boomers were given an incredible amount of things. They lived in a very prosperous time in which the United States was the only superpower left, seeing as how the Soviet Union was falling. China wasn't that big of a competitor back then. Anyway, so my first point of why the boomers need to stop making fun of the millennials and Gen Zers and trying to take their money and their programs or financial programs and social aid, stuff like that. They're insulting us while they make money off of it, and frankly, it's disgusting. My first point is the programs and the financial programs that they received when they were younger, around the millennials' age at this point. They received Social Security, which was obviously part of the New Deal, created by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They got debt relief, a lot of debt relief. They had cheap or no student loans. They say that they worked through college, but that's because college was so much cheaper than it is today. That is because like I said, America was so prosperous at this time. They had the money to spare to make sure that they could get their children could get the education that they needed. And the reason why they did that was so people would go into math and science programs, hopefully to combat what the Soviet Union was doing. Because around this time is when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, and when they when they launched Sputnik, and when the Soviets themselves were starting their own space program, and the United States basically wanted to combat that with NASA, and the way they did that was to encourage people to go into math and science programs, to universities to study more, and they were able to do that so cheaply because the United States backed them for it. The United States isn't doing that anymore. In fact, they have had programs like Sallie Mae that were made to support us, but when Sallie Mae was repealed, or not repealed, but it was separated from the government, as in it was privatized. That's the word I'm looking for. When it was privatized, I believe Bill Clinton signed that, or pretty much orchestrated that. When that happened, that's when all of the student debt increased dramatically. This was around the time of the Gen Xers, and some maybe even where members of the Generation X are, going into college. So they were the ones who started getting massive student debt, but a lot of them were already out of college or already in college, and it didn't affect them too badly. But the next generation, the millennials, are the ones who really affected. I mean, I don't need to tell you how many social media posts you'll see on how much student debt is. It's insane, the amount of student debt that we have, and it's just ridiculous that the baby boomers are still stating that they can work through that you can work through college. There's no way you can go right out of high school and be able to afford student loans after your job, because it's very difficult to get a high paying job without a college degree. So it's kind of a double whammy. You either go to college and get a good job but have to pay off all this debt, or you don't go to college and you just go straight out of high school and you get a lower paying job. That's the way it's been for a while. But the problem is that in today's economy, sometimes you can't even get a higher paying job with your college degree, considering the fact that baby boomers refuse to retire. And that's totally in their right to do so. But if they do retire, it would free up higher paying jobs for millennials who need to pay off their college debt. They also received health insurance and a starter home. Health insurance is something that a lot of people are getting nowadays, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, which might be repealed, which could be repealed, possibly. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. Anyway, health insurance is something that a lot of people are getting now. However, that doesn't really matter, considering the fact that a lot of millennials also have to work temp jobs, or even have to work part-time jobs because they can't get full-time jobs because there's not enough jobs to get, because the baby boomers refuse to retire. So the fact that they get health insurance right out of the gate is such a big help. Not to mention those insurance payments, super low for that time. They also received help with buying a starter home. Some of them just got a starter home outright, which is insane. That pretty much takes care of a lot of your problems, because now you have a place to live and the government is helping you buy that. It's insane that they continue to say that our lives are so much easier than theirs with technology. And yes, they're not wrong. Technology does make our life a lot easier. However, they were basically babied the whole way through their beginning years of life. And only now people are starting to contest that. It's not even that bad that they got those things. It's the fact that they also don't want us to have those things. Anyway, my second point, the time period in which they lived, U.S. was incredibly prosperous. They were the only superpower left. The USSR was, starting. It was in their prime in the 60s, but then towards the 70s and 80s, it started to fall, especially after Gorbachev was in charge of the USSR. Like I said before, China hadn't really risen to the occasion yet. That was until very later they became an incredible superpower. They did fight the wars, though. That's another thing that a lot of them speak of, is that they fought in the Vietnam War, the Korean War is give or take, because mostly probably baby boomers fought in that, and I'm sure not baby boomers. The Greatest Generation probably fought a lot, and a lot of them fought in Korea, as well as some of them possibly could have also fought in Vietnam. But yes, the baby boomers did fight in Vietnam. That being said, the fact that they did fight in Vietnam, while it's honorable, it was still the only war we lost. Was that due to our soldiers? No, it was due to our politicians. I understand that, but still the fact that they try and quote that as some sort of honorable war is pitiful. A lot of them don't, but I know some of them at least, explain that their participation in Vietnam War was patriotic, when in fact it wasn't. For those that did dodge the draft to go to Vietnam, those people are the ones that I applaud because those people are incredibly brave and strong-willed to be able to do that. Um, my next point is jobs and benefits. They got help with retirement savings, um, something that a lot of people nowadays can't even really do. It's difficult to like save for a 401k right when you're trying to pay off all your incredible student loans. You like it's almost impossible, frankly, because you need to pay off all the bills that you have to do. We have internet and cable and cell phone bills, stuff that the baby boomers didn't have before then. And these are things that you need. People say that you don't need internet. At this point in time, you absolutely need internet because try and apply for a job without the internet. It's nearly impossible nowadays that they don't require you to have access to the internet. They also had higher base incomes. Like the second their starting jobs had higher average gross salaries than millennials do nowadays, if you adjust for inflation, of course. Like I said before, they have health insurance, and they also had a lot of vacation time compared to us. Like I think the average is like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. That is if you don't work at a bank or something. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my point. Is the OK Boomer movement is just step one in a long process that it is going to actually be able for the Gen Zers and the millennials to fight back, so to speak. Not really literally fighting back, but I hope you understand what I mean. We at least have some sort of argument, some sort of comeback. While as comedic and silly as as it is, it really isn't. It's not a great comeback, but it's something to annoy them and to aggravate them and to prove to them that we're not going to let them, have all the things that they have and we don't get the same thing. How is that fair? How does that make any sense that they get to have all of these advantages, all of the points that I listed before? They get to do all of that, but we don't. It's depressing, frankly. I hope with all the points I've made, you realize now, or if you already realized before, it emphasizes the fact that they have been given so much and they aren't admitting that their life was easy because it was easy. They were given so many things. They were they were literally babied through life, and yet they call us sensitive and call us babied and coddled and whatever other words, even though they just piggybacked off of the government throughout their like first 30 to 40 years, and now they're still doing it because their salaries just continue to grow due to inflation. Due to inflation and raises, of course, because a lot of companies, adjust for inflation. Anyway, uh, so I just want people to like notice the fact that baby boomers have been given a lot. We've also been given a lot with all of the technology and stuff that we have, which is practically a birthright at this point. Internet is practically a birthright. But all the points that I listed before, the boomers also got as birthrights: health insurance, retirement savings, social security, no zero student loans, a starter home, all because they were born at the right time, and now they refuse to allow us to have the same thing. It's just something to think about. Something that is honestly stupid. It's just stupid. Thank you for listening. My name is Nate Ewing, host of the Nate Knows podcast. We will see you in the next one.